4:04, we're going to call the Public Works, Dougherty County Public Works meeting to order for a fourth. So the agenda has been previously circulated. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? I'm getting a little background noise from somewhere, but just
it's Wayne.
It's Wayne, okay. So hearing no additions or deletions, can we have a motion to approve the agenda so we can open the meeting, please?
So moved.
Okay, Heather, you pick one of those three voices. We have a second, please. Someone, please. Second that.
Second that.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. All in favor? Contrary minded?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion's carried. The agenda is approved. It is in a short agenda today. We have tipping fee discussion, and we're going to get an operational update. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to Leanne, and then she can engage the staff as required. So we'll deal with the tipping fee discussions. So we will keep our questions perhaps till the end of the tipping fee discussion. Then we'll have questions about that, and we'll move on to the operational update. And we'll open the floor to questions at that time. Does that sound reasonable to everybody?
Sounds
and good. And we do have Robert and we have Kelly Brett on as well, if I'm correct. So Leanne, we'll turn it over to you and I will mute.
Okay, so I'm going to actually turn it over to Kelly and Robert. So Kelly and Robert have developed a tipping fee schedule, proposed schedule, recommended schedule, based on having a discussion at our last Public Works meeting where we talked about drop-offs that happen and concerns that we have with costs at some of the at all of the sites for commercial businesses coming in without a rate, with the costs related to the processing and the smell related to fish offal. And it was recommended that we open it up to all commercial operations at this time to investigate fees. So Robert and Kelly have done up a PowerPoint presentation that they are going to share the screen on and show you, and I believe that I sent out a copy of it as well, or a briefing notes related to it. So I'll turn it over to Robert and Kelly.
Thank you, Leanne. Before we start, I'd like to maybe give a little background. We have here in Victoria County, we have operate 2 waste management facilities and 2 recycling facilities. We have a large geographic area and a small population. And we've noticed over the last 10 years or so, or continued increase in waste management costs. This is driven in part, a large part, by changes in the regulatory requirement, even beyond 10 years ago when the province introduced it. Bans on materials going to landfills were required to put in diversion programs. They've changed the regulations in terms of how you dispose of waste. So now we're required to ship waste outside the county, hence the need for the 2 transfer stations that we have. And the remaining material, construction demolition material as well. We've recently constructed a new C&D landfill to manage that material. The standards for landfills, the one we ship off island to and the one we have on site, have increased over the years. And obviously the cost of installing these facilities and operating them has been increasing. And most facilities, and probably all facilities, I could say, Nova Scotia charge tip fees to most of their users. Some charge to every user, some charge just their commercial, and do not charge their residents. Many are moving in that direction. We're probably, I believe I could say, the only municipality that really has a do not charge a commercial establishment. We have a very limited tip fee base at the moment. We generally only tip fees, provide or put tip fees on waste coming from what we deem as non-tax paying entities, essentially our federal and provincial users. such as the Celtic Lodge, the National Park, our local reserves, they pay tip fees for some material that they bring into the site. And that's really the only revenue stream that we have for tip fees to operate our facilities. In an effort we decided that, okay, we took a look at what is happening across the province and see that tip fees are applied to most users. As I said, some choose not to charge tip fees to the residents and others do, but all of them charge the commercial, their ICI, institutional commercial sector, for use of their facility. So with that in mind, we put together a proposed tip fee schedule to cover the materials that we handle out of facilities and some appropriate tip fees. So maybe what I'll do, I'll move over to share my screen here of a presentation that we put together on this. I'm going to have to open my mic, so I apologize if my dogs start making some noise here. Can everyone see what's up on the screen there?
Yes.
Yep, good.
So what we did, I'll move on to what's our proposed tip fee table here. And what this table outlines, it outlines in the different types of materials that we handle at our facility. Source separated waste, which is essentially garbage, the remaining material after people have sorted their recyclables. This is the material we receive from all businesses and residents. It comes in our clear bags now. So that's what we refer as sort separated waste. Municipal organics refers to the organics that we receive that is being sorted by both residents and businesses in our green translucent bag program that we have. So that's essentially the organics that we receive from all establishments, not counting the fish offal from the plant north. We also receive recyclables and cardboard. These are essentially the blue bag stream and the cardboard stream that come into our facility. We receive construction and demolition material. That's material from maybe renovations, building demolitions, like the facility on High Street. The inn there is arriving at our site today. That's the type of material that falls under C&D. Asphalt shingles, they're pretty well self-explanatory. Scrap metal, any metal that's brought out to the site as part of any construction project or any home renovation are generally generated by residents or businesses is separated and kept on site. Leaf and yard waste, that it refers to brush and trimmings and such that people will bring out to our site after we see a lot in spring after they're doing the spring cleanups. We also will receive some concrete, maybe there's a foundation that somebody had a home torn down, some wood stumps, some blocks, concrete blocks and bricks from construction activity. We don't put their inert material. They're not required to go in a landfill. They're harmless material in a sense. So we've been accepting that on our site. Then we receive fish offal as well, but that's specifically to the Dingwall site related to the Victoria Co-op operation. And then we also receive contaminated soils. Contaminated soils is the only materials that we accept from outside the county. And that's part of our unique soils remediation facility operation, which has been a bit of a revenue stream for us up and down over the last number of years. So at present, the tip fees that we do charge, if you look under the first column here, this refers to non-residential users. And what we're going to look at here is a schedule that's not going to look at charging tip fees to the resident, but mainly look at our commercial users. So that at present, we really have no tip fees here that we are charging to the businesses here in Victoria County. Again, I mentioned that we're unique like that because I believe we're the only one in the province that does that. Most other municipalities have looked at that as a way to offset these increasing costs that they're seeing. In the second column, you can see the fees that we do charge for the federal provincial users. That predated my coming on with the municipality. I believe it's something that was set up a while back. But essentially, if you're a non-tax-paying provincial or federal entity, we do charge you those particular rates for materials. You can see the rates here. They vary for the clear bag, organics, recyclables, and C&D material. Now, what we put together was proposed tip fees that we would look at going forward. And this is, the idea is to capture the commercial industrial stream that's doesn't fall into that federal provincial entity. And what we're proposing is that we look at a waste fee of $85 per metric ton for garbage, black bag material, or anything that ends up essentially inside our tipping floor that has to go in our trailer to Guysborough. Proposing 75 a metric ton for organics. That's the organic stream that is generated by commercial establishments. Restaurants will generate organics as they're preparing their meals and such. Cardboard and recyclables, we're proposing $90 a metric ton. Construction demolition, 85, asphalt shingles, 45, scrap metal, 45, leaf and yard waste, 40, bricks, concrete, wood and stumps, 40, fish offal, we're looking to charge 75 for that to try to recover the cost. We identified our cost specifically on that activity alone. Probably that 75 was a conservative number. And we're looking to take an opportunity to increase our contaminated soils fee from $50 a metric ton to $60 a metric ton. That fee has been stagnant for a while now.
Right.
And we feel, sorry, Leanne?
Can I just jump in just for a second?
Sure.
Okay, so currently, I'm not sure if everyone knows right now, but the only people that we charge for drop off at the landfill are Alexander Graham Bell Museum, the National Park, and Nova Scotia Power. And I believe that those were charged the present fee for federal and provincial users for anything that they get dropped off currently. And I think that the reason for that is because we don't charge them commercial property tax. We get a grant in lieu for them, but they are not charged commercial taxes right now. So they pay when they drop anything off. Then we have a couple of organizations that we do charge for. We charge Wagmacook right now currently, and Wagmacook gets charged for C&D and for waste that they drop off at the current rates also, because we do not charge them as well. So this proposed fee, when we say non-residential users, we are looking to charge anyone that is commercial. So we were asked to look into the school board, correct, currently gets charged, but I don't think that they drop off a whole lot at this point. But we wanted to look for a rate that we could charge our commercial users coming in. So for instance, we thought we could say anyone that's commercial, but what does commercial actually mean? We had a discussion earlier today because commercial can mean you have a business, but does that mean in Victoria County you pay commercial tax? Because currently, if you looked at any of our fishermen, that were fisher people that we have, none of them pay commercial property tax, but they are considered a business, of course, because they are under CRA's qualifications. So we called it anyone who was non-residential, as a non-residential user. So we would start to charge a fee for anyone that was taking in other than household garbage. So the way that we got these rates is Kelly and Robert did a lot of work and looked at all the other landfills around our existing areas and our neighboring areas, and we didn't want to charge more, but we didn't want to charge less either. So we found ranges for all of them and then came up with a rate. But also we left Nova Scotia Power, AGB, Highland National Park at the rate that they are at because they have been paying those rates. So didn't really want to change it for those ones. So our first column going down is what we currently charge. So you'll just see we charge fish offal and contaminated soil, and that is it right now, except to AGB, Cape Breton, Highlands Park, School Board Nova Scotia Power, the present fees for federal and provincial users. So the next two columns are the proposed amounts that we are looking to charge to non-residential users and federal and provincial who are already paying, but it might be a different rate that we're looking to pay. So just wanted to give a little background on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
Go ahead,
I'll
Robert.
continue. So this is a proposed schedule. Now, one of the things we have to consider is presently we're not set up with a weigh scale at both locations that we will be seeing material from. We do get some commercial recyclables at the New Haven facility, plus we get regular use of the Dingwall transfer station from users for disposing of materials. So what we looked at there is we looked at a tip fee schedule based on a per vehicle load that you bring on, essentially per load. Now, this is a fairly common schedule you find at waste management facilities for times when their scales are not operating. There's different times their scales may be out of service, so you will use a schedule like this as a fallback. And this is using similar vehicle descriptions that is out there in industry and a fee structure here that is comparative as well. And the idea is that we can if we're going to move ahead with tip fees, we can start at both sites, and at some point we're looking at our north facility for improvements down there, and any improvements I expect would require a new weigh scale at that time, and then we'd move to a tonnage based fee. So that's my comments, I guess, on the schedule and the different methods in terms of a weight and a per ton charges.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Okay, can we take that down off the screen, and then we can open for any questions. So
just one with the fish oil offal. I'm wondering, have you did some studying into the CBRM, like Lewisburg, for example? They would produce 40 times what Victoria Fishermen's Co-op would produce. I'm just assuming that.
Yep.
A very substantial amount. I'm just
Yep.
wondering, what do they do?
They charge 65 a fee, 65 a ton.
So it's accommodated by CBRN?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
thank you, Councillor. Any other questions for Robert, please?
Yeah, Robert, in regards to Dingwall, so if say, I'm just going to use, for example, Doucet's variety store, main thing they would be taking down is cardboard boxes. So if he had a half-ton truck of boxes, we're going to charge him $25 every time he goes down. Is my reading that right?
It would be per visit. Now, the idea too is that if somebody's going to come down, they're not likely to come down with a half a box or half a load. They're going to take the opportunity to come in less frequently, maybe with full loads.
Okay, no, thank you.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with
Yeah,
you, Larry. If I could just add to that, maybe if we just dropped anything less than a ton truck, I don't see. I just know from the village here, people going with half-ton trucks all the time, and $25, I can just foresee that being a tough one. But anyway, is there any other questions? Paul, you had one? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, just looking at the recyclables and cardboard too, like $85 and $110. Would that discourage people from recycling? I'm scared. Like,
But that is where
what-
pickup at curbside is recommended. So these are for commercial, right? These are commercial rates. These are not household rates. So household is not residential is not going to be charged at this point. So if you're coming in with your trunk load as a household member, you're going to use the drop-off box. Or we're promoting curbside pickup.
I should add to
okay.
Leanne, at the bottom, we talked, generally people that fail to comply, and that can happen, it rarely does. We're not seeing a lot of that now. Facilities will charge 2 times the existing fee. Someone might say, I'm not separating. Someone could tear down a building and say, I don't really feel like separating. I don't want to do it, or it's not worth it to me. So in a way to accommodate that, facilities will charge twice the existing fee, and that's very common practice for most of the facilities. It's going to promote the recycling, promote the reusing of materials without bringing it to us, and maybe as a last resort.
Fraser also has his hand up.
Thank you. Just to be clear in my mind, Robert, the original schedule you had up showed the 2 columns, and the columns where the fees went down, what, 110 to 85 or something like that. But you're going to compensate that by having more people charged for tipping fees, right? Is that correct?
No. So those fees of 110 were only charged to AGB, Nova Scotia Power, those federal and provincial agencies. The next column over says that we're going to stay charging those amounts to those operations, but we will charge a lesser amount to any new commercial operations.
So there won't be an increase in people dropping stuff off?
Well, there will, because we don't charge commercial businesses currently.
Yeah.
So commercial businesses will be charged the $85, but AGB or Nova Scotia Power will still be charged the 110.
Okay.
Same rate that they always have been.
But with the ones that are charged less than now, you're gonna expand that, make that bigger. You're gonna have more clients or whatever.
There's no one charged less than now, because now is free for all commercial.
Well, I don't have it in front of me. The first column had,
Had zero.
no, one went from 110 to 85.
That was, no, so there was 4 columns. So the first column was current, which is current non-residential, which is 0. The next column was federal and provincial current, which is 110. The next column over from that was proposed commercial. And then the column over from that was proposed federal provincial. So federal and provincial are staying the same or going up to match commercial.
So weren't some of the ones in the third column less?
They were, so commercial businesses that are not being charged now will not be charged as much as federal and provincial, but they will be charged more than they're being charged now. So their commercial businesses will go from 0 to $85.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any more questions? This is just a proposal at this point. Just keep in mind, these are not going into effect. I think we'll probably need some time individually, kind of take a look at these anyway on our own. But if there's, see Councillor MacDonald has a question. Go ahead, sir.
Just concerning co-op fisheries, at the present, they don't pay a tipping fee for the fish over?
They do. They pay $35 a ton. And we have done some work on the costs related to it. It's about $75. It's more than $75, but we think that we would feel comfortable getting close to break even at $75.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Just a question about, for example, what happens to a commercial operation that just puts their cardboard at collection day at the side of the road? What happens in that scenario?
There shouldn't be any change. We have we will be looking at our bylaw at the same time. We have presently, our bylaw states that we collect 5 bags of 5 clear bags. And I don't believe we have a limit on our cardboard and our blue bags. But we'll be looking at that. Part of any tip fee change, we'll have to take a look at our bylaw and update it accordingly.
Okay, so conceivably right now they can bundle it, put it aside the road, and it's taken for free.
They are doing that, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Some are, because I should add that we don't come by frequently enough for businesses that generate any amount of waste. Our once-a-week collection doesn't work for them. Some will take advantage of it, but a lot of establishments will deliver on their own just because of the volume that they generate, and they need to move it off-site sooner.
Okay, thank you.
So just for clarification, if I have a construction project going on my property, I have a contractor here with a half-ton truck and a trailer, and he goes out to the site, he'll be charged X number of dollars per load. Do you bill him it's him you bill, not the homeowner or the property owner or the business owner. It's the individual that's dropping the material off. Am I
Correct. Yes, but he will probably, he or she should turn around and bill it back to you, I would think.
But my other question, but just, you know, I know we're looking at it, it's just a proposal at this point. But when do you foresee, after we look at this and we kind of tweak it a bit and we come to some consensus, it's probably not the season or the year to be looking at implementing. When were you planning on implementing it? I know we gave direction to Public Works, but that was prior to the pandemic and the state of emergency, and I'm just a little bit worried about the timing of starting to charge. I think people will be quite sensitive about that.
Well, if you just remember back to the beginning of this conversation, we're the only transfer stations that do not charge currently. So all the businesses here have received a benefit for the last several years. So just, it's the way of the world. We're taking their garbage. They could leave it for curbside, but if they choose not to, then as you're dropping it off, there is a fee for it.
Yeah. No, and I just put it out there for conversation because I know that that'll be one of the first questions that'll be asked is about the timing of this. You know, anyway, it's a conversation about any costs and any fees that are going to be discussed at the municipal, provincial levels. It's going to be it's the timing. It's not
right.
Whether they agree. It will be the timing stuff.
Right, but we also know we've been hearing about the fish offal for several years, and we charge them $35, and it costs us more than double that to look after that product. So just
okay. Yeah, no, and again, for discussion, and we have to be aware of it. You know, there'll be some sensitivity around it, I suspect, just with the timing. Saying it's right or wrong or which side of the fence you fall on, but certainly the timing will be interesting.
Yeah, I think there'll always be a bad time, right? Whenever you're charging a fee.
There never is a good time, but there's certainly worse stuff. So, any other final questions or conversation around this? We do have another item on the agenda, and again, it is for this is just proposing right now. I think what would be suggested is that we get a copy of the PowerPoint to us, so we can take a look at ourselves. Then whether or not we have another meeting or if we open it up for further discussion.
So, how long do you want to put on that?
I don't know, Council, what are your thoughts on that?
I think we have to do it soon before the season of start. Well, start now the constructions for the commercials, and before the season start, because you can put it in the middle of the season, or we leave it in the beginning, or we have to be after.
Which is why we were wanting to do it last month to have this presentation, but COVID happened.
Yeah. So what about if we do that before, you know, give it, I don't know, a couple days, and that way we can put it out in the public, and the you know, and the business are trying to, if they're deciding to open or not, that way they can have the thought to what to do about this.
No, it's a good. Yeah, absolutely. It's a good point. We have a budget meeting on Wednesday. So if you send us out the information now, we will have a conversation about it. We'll take a few minutes at the budget meeting and we'll have a follow-up discussion on this to hopefully decide one way or the other. So I guess.
How about we plan another one for another meeting related to this for Friday?
Whatever council wishes. What are your thoughts? You want more time to look at this and meet? No?
It's about Wednesday.
I feel in this the fees are, it's a foregone conclusion that we need to have them in place. So I think it should be implemented now.
I agree. I think we should start right away.
So Wayne, you're in agreement that we look at implementing these fees as they are right now? Or do you want to take a look at them and then make a decision on if we're going to move forward in implementing them? Do you want to take a close second look at those fees before we give the final approval to move forward with it? I'm thinking if we look at the fees in more detail between now and Wednesday, and on Wednesday we decide if we're good with the fees as they are, we accept them. If there's any questions or comments or some of those other in regards to whether individual fees, if there's any questions, we can have that discussion at that point. I'm open to either one, just need direction. So I'm hearing from Merrill to implement, Wayne to implement, Councillor MacLeod to implement, but we look at it till Wednesday, if I understood. So anyone else wish to weigh in on this, please?
Yeah, Fraser,
Yeah,
I think we should look at it on Wednesday too. We just got it this afternoon, you know, and just to get a few more hours to digest it or whatever. And, you know, 2 days is not going to make a big difference.
Okay, so Fraser open, so.
That sounds like a good idea, Fraser. We can do that Wednesday.
Are we good till Wednesday? Can we agree on Wednesday?
No, Wednesday's fine.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
Wednesday's good.
And Wednesday, it's a good discussion to have then because it is, it could have budget ramifications as well. Deputy Warden, you okay with Wednesday?
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm not, I guess I'm not sold on this yet. I'd like to have a more look at it. So Wednesday's fine. We'll take a look at it then. I just don't think the timing would cover right now and what the businesses are going through. I'm a little nervous about it. So I'd like to have a couple of days to look at it for sure. Thanks.
Yeah. Councillor MacDonald?
Yeah, Wednesday is good with me too.
Councillor MacNeil is good with Wednesday. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Councillor MacDonald?
Yeah, Wednesday's fine. Just a question to Robert. If the fees were to go forward, did he say earlier that we had to have scales present at both sites?
No, we would use a load-based fee for the Dingwall facility for the time being.
Okay.
So there was a separate schedule for the Dingwall facility for the size of the load that came in?
Question,
Sorry.
Robert?
Yes?
Just what is the price of putting a scale in? I know we put one in the park. They're quite expensive. What do you have a ballpark? What it would cost to put that scale in Dingwall?
I suspect about $80,000. We'd have to look and perhaps get a smaller scale for that location. Scales themselves can run 30 to 40. Then the work to put them in with the forms and everything.
Yeah, I was thinking 80 to 100,000. That's what I was wondering. Okay, no, it's good. Thank you.
Okay, so everybody has spoken. I think the other just piece of information that would be good for us to have as well is that when you send out the presentation, maybe just give us an idea of what our actual costs are, solid costs are to the municipality. We have to justify the increase as well. And we know people have raised concerns about the cost of those facilities. And this is one way of generating some revenue from those operations. So it's that would be an important piece of information to have too for our own review. So can we have that provided?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other final questions or comments before we move on to the second item? It's 4:38 and I want to allow enough time for that second conversation. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Robert. And we are going to move on to an operational update for solid waste and public works. So Leanne, if you wish to take the lead on that and go forward, that's great.
I think I'm going to get back to Robert and Kelly also, just they're on the ground there. So Kelly's mostly on the ground of what's open and what's not open.
I'll just make a comment about when you say public works, just on the water utility, we haven't really been, impacted by COVID with our operation. Employees are working independent. We have very little interaction with customers, so things are running fairly smooth on the utility side of things, the water side. Kelly can speak to the staffing levels at the transfer station and in terms of what is accepting what at each location. Kelly, can you take that?
So currently we have activity at our 3 sites. In Bedak, we have Gigi and Bobby in 5 days a week, and we have our compost attendant opening compost 3 days a week that just started. In New Haven, we have 2 staff on site, and they're accepting cardboard from businesses on Friday. And on the Thursday that they're there, they're processing any cardboard that comes in from these businesses. And then in Dingwall, we currently have 1 staff member on site who's accepting material and managing the fish offal. We have talked a little bit about a model going forward to try to reopen, because I know people are starting to clean up their yards and whatnot and looking to get rid of this material. We do have a meeting tomorrow afternoon to discuss this further, but I think we may be able to implement a plan that'll satisfy everyone for the time being. I don't anticipate us opening full staff, but I think we can do something that will still allow us to act under the restrictions that we're under from the province, keeping our staff healthy and safe, keep them distanced, and satisfy the public needs as well. So as
If I can add to a majority of facilities that have closed to the public are still staying closed. We're not seeing a large wave of openings, but we anticipate as things change and hopefully improve that we'll see that. Just wanted to put that out there.
So we have a meeting tomorrow with Kelly and Robert related to Public Works, and we're going to be discussing our go forward plans of what they are and what they will look like, and what our operations will look like as slowly opening them up. So I believe that Jocelyn sent out a note to council related to FAQs related to our landfill. If you're getting any questions on it, that is still in place, but we will be going on the advice of our Public Works management department heads there on our safest way to open back up. As Kelly mentioned, compost is now in there 3 days a week. That's because of wildlife concerns that are happening related to compost building up there. And New Haven has 2 members related to cardboard concerns from commercial businesses down in New Haven related to that. And Dingwall's 1 member is mostly running the fish offal from the processing plant being opened. I believe I'm right, Kelly and Robert, on that? Yeah, that's correct. And he's just managing the trailers as well and just keeping an eye of the businesses that are coming on site.
Any questions for Kelly, Robert, or Leanne?
Yeah, and just one question there. I understood that all the facilities at present, there's more than the 1 employee, and the one in Dingwall, I honestly just feel that just the 1 employee at that place seems to be, is there a reason why they can't have 2 there, or like for safety or occupational health reasons? Just having the 1 employee staff there?
We check in with the 1 employee that's there just as a safety precaution, but the space is pretty small at the facility right now as well, which makes it difficult for 2 staff to be on site, especially with limited traffic or during bad weather. There's not really many places for them to go to isolate or distance from one another.
Okay, thank you. I was just more concerned with this actual safety of the 1 worker there with no one else on site. Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns before we move on? I'm assuming that once you have your meeting tomorrow, then the messages will be, we have public service announcements, or I mean, to me, it's more than putting it on the website. And I think we have to get the word, I guess we want the word out so everybody's clear on it. It's a big county, and what are we going to do to move forward?
Yeah, as we hear related to our reopening, our slow reopening of it, we will be sending, I will be using our communications to send out messages related to how it will be operating. Maybe it's 1 day a week or 2 days a week or something like that. But we will be getting the message out, whatever means are available.
Yeah, I think it's critical from the point of view, the message necessarily not that we're open, but the fact that we're operating under certain protocol, and that's the important thing for the safety of our employees and back between the public and our employees. So I'm sure that will be a big part of the communication as well. So, because we know in Sydney, we were talking about this earlier, is the first day they opened it there, they had the DRC or the CBR and police were there directing traffic, and there are a lot of people showed up, and I think the closer your community sites, the more people that will probably try to get their solid waste out. All right.
And we also know, sorry, go ahead.
No, just the one question about the most phone calls I've been getting lately is about heavy garbage and when we're going to have it. I said right now, well, basically right now it's delayed until the fall. Do you know when possibly, like, would it be October or September or?
We haven't made a decision yet, Paul. With everything that's going on with COVID, it's kind of a wait and see right now.
Yeah.
So we'll have to make the decision as we get closer to the fall, unfortunately.
Okay. Thank you.
And also something that we anticipate happening, because they have had concerns with it at other transfer stations or other landfills that have opened back up. It's sort of seen as a gathering or something to do, which can cause issues with social distancing, which is probably why the police were at CBRM's site. But I know that administration had concerns over that, the opening back of it, and too many people being on site, and because it's something to do.
Yeah, and it's a traffic issue in some areas as well.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, well, we'll see how it goes, and so you'll let us know how the results of the meeting on Tuesday, and just keep us advised to what decisions you're made, and we'll move forward as you move forward. Any other final questions or comments in that regard before we good?
One comment, Warden.
Yes, sir.
Just say, I know Norman's indicated he's getting a lot of calls on the garbage and stuff. I am also. Everywhere I go, people are asking why not, because in the past, anytime I've brought stuff down, I think Norman's mentioned it, either nobody comes out or you see one person that just points to where to go to, and you never have any contact with anyone. So if Robert, Kelly, guys, Leanne, could just keep that in mind when you're looking at it, if there is any possibilities of opening up and doing something, but I do understand your points also.
Just as a point of interest, I can tell you I had one call from one resident outside my district, but have you, Paul, you said that you had a few calls, but that was mostly about the heavy garbage.
I've had a couple of phone calls, but one concerning tires too. Person was trying to get rid of tires, so yeah.
Heather, you had noted that a lot of phone calls you have coming in, or information that you've been responding to, is related to the transfer station?
Yeah, just phone calls, probably 3, and I've just referred them on to Public Works.
Were they for north or south, or not that it mattered?
Nothing, well, mainly the Vdeck site.
Yeah, just because.
Yeah.
I can.
One of them was going to wanted to register a formal complaint.
Okay.
That was it.
We haven't, I just want to go through the districts very quickly, Councillor, just to get a sense of, Councillor MacLeod, you get any calls?
And just one a month ago, when I put in council meeting, that's the only one. And after that, no, none.
Very good, thank you. I'm just trying to get a gauge about the less you hear, maybe you get a sense about how serious it is. Although I think once the warmer weather comes, it's going to be more of an issue. Councillor MacInnis, have you had many calls?
Yes, I'm getting some requests as well. Just an idea and one suggestion. Could it be possible in the planning idea, like having a system similar to the stores that are operating, for example, of only allowing X number of vehicles in at a time, like three vehicles, and they could be stopped at the scale house, and then 3 come out or whatever. There's one
Yeah,
comes out,
that's-
or is allowed in.
Yeah, that's definitely a consideration, Merrill, that we're going to be looking at. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. Great.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Patterson, you get many calls?
No calls about the transfer station, but a couple of comments, like Paul, with heavy garbage. People are wondering when that's going to be.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Budge, any calls about this?
No calls at all on the transfer stations.
Good, okay, and District Deputy Warden, I've asked, did you comment?
Yeah, I've had 5 direct, but hearing other comments on Facebook and stuff like that, but 5 direct on the Dingwall site.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor MacDonald?
I have upwards of about 10 calls so far and several messages by email with, as you know, the transfer station lies within my district. And as Councillor MacInnis stated, it was almost along the same lines. If they could do like a social distancing type, like 2 or 3 at a time allowed in, but explain the state of emergency, everything to them. And they seem to understand that, but hopefully with things will ease up and change.
Yeah, and we'll go as the province dictates to us as well. So I think as long as we deal with the issue on Tuesday and get the information back to us by Wednesday and move forward in that direction. So any other issues, comments, questions for the solid waste meeting? It is 9 minutes to our council meeting. So if we don't have any, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn, please.
I make that. So moved.
Councillor McGinn, all in favor? Contrary, motion is carried. This meeting is adjourned.